this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. I woke up this morning with my mind.
Hey everybody, it's Joey Sparks here, and this is your reminder. God's mercies are new again this morning. Labels are necessary and important. When we go shopping, we need labels to tell us what the product is. And they often try to sell us on the product. They tell us other key aspects about that. You got a diabetic, they need to know the difference in a diet soda and a regular soda that might have sugar in it. Or someone with a food allergy of another type, they need to know, does it have this allergen in it that I need to avoid? And obviously labels go even further than that, but that's just one example. We need to know what's on the inside, so we label it. We put something on the outside that reflects it. And that becomes a means of vocabulary. It becomes a means of description. It's reflecting what's on the inside. Well, think about the importance of the word label or labeling when we go to the beginning of the book of James and think about James chapter 1 and verse 2. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. Or maybe older translations or more familiar translations might say, consider it all joy, my brothers, when you meet various trials. Consider it. What's he saying there? Label it. Give it an accounting. Look at it and understand what it is. And when you slap a label on it, when you look back on it, how will you know what's in it? It's all about the label. It's all about the label you put on it. We do this when we move, don't we? We pack up all of our boxes and we have to put Joey's bedroom on it, or kitchen, or dining room, so that we know where it goes and what to do with it. Well, that's the same thing he's talking about here. You take a trial, any kind of trial, he says, various kinds, and you have to put a label on the box it's in. What will you put on that label? He says, you be sure you count it all joy. Now, that's not easy, but what it reminds us of is this. Number one, and the reason kind of bringing this up is to address the idea of our mental self-talk, our mental thinking. Because so much of our emotional responses and thus even our physical responses are driven by our minds. That what we think impacts how we feel, which impacts so many different regulatory type chemicals and hormones in our bodies, which then impacts what we do. It all begins with our thinking. That's how God designed us. That's why God tells us to control our thinking. That's why God tells us to dwell on the scriptures. That's why God tells us to think on certain things. That's why God tells us to set our minds on the things of the Spirit. Set our minds on the things that are above. It's the same principle here. Consider it. Count it. Label it all joy when you meet trials of various kinds. And it's why? Because you know the truth behind the trial. It's not because the trial is easy. It's not because the trial is what we would say enjoyable in English language, but it is joy, meaning there is meaning to it. Meaning it will make us stronger. Meaning God will strengthen us through it. That's the point he makes, right? It's the testing of your faith that produces steadfastness, and then when we allow steadfastness to have its full effect, we may be perfect and complete, not lacking anything. It all starts with what we label. What we label, what we call it, when we suffer. Label it joy. Label it hope. Label it peace. Label it trust in God. We thank you so much for your time this morning. It's our prayer that God's timeless word will be your meditation all day long today.